The blood-red letters on Marco's school locker weren't just a threat. They were an invitation to war written in a child's blood type O negative, the same as Isla's brother. The school principal had called the estate exactly 17 minutes after Marco texted her a single emoji. Isla stood in the mansion's war room, a glass-walled command center Dominic had shown her only once, saying some doors stay closed, and watched Carter's team pull security footage. The Volkov enforcer had worn a maintenance uniform, had entered through the faculty parking lot using a forged ID badge, had placed the message with clinical precision while students passed by in the hallway. Then he'd simply walked out, merged with foot traffic, and vanished. "He knew we'd see it," Carter said, his scarred jaw tight. This wasn't a mistake. It's a statement. Dominic stood at the far window, back to everyone, hands in his pockets. Isla had never seen him so still. Not during surgery. Not when bullets were being extracted. This was the silence of a man calculating how many lives his weakness had just endangered. "We have 30 minutes, Dominic said without turning. "Before they contact us with their demands or before they try again," Isla countered, her voice steady despite the ice water in her veins. They didn't just write on a locker. They got inside the school. They could have taken Marco. Dominic finally turned. His eyes were black. Not angry. Something worse. Resigned. "They want me to know they can reach him. That's the point. The point is, they think I'm your weakness." Isla stepped forward, placing herself between Dominic and the tactical map glowing on the table. "They're wrong. I'm your weapon. And they just handed me the target." The call came at 3:17 p.m. A burner phone that couldn't be traced. A voice modified through software, genderless, ageless, Russian accented. "Mr. Ashford, you have something we want." The voice was calm. "Business-like your little nurse. Exchange her for the Northern Dock territory. 24 hours. Or we take her. And we start with the brother." Dominic didn't speak. He simply held the phone away from his ear and looked at Isla. She took it from his hand. "Hello, Victor," Isla said, her voice even. "I assume you're Victor Volkov." A pause. Then a chuckle. "Ah, the nurse who speaks Russian. Dominic didn't mention you were multilingual." "I'm not just a nurse," Isla said, walking to the tactical map, her eyes scanning the Northern Dock coordinates. "I'm the one who froze your Detroit accounts. I know you're desperate. But threatening a child? That's not desperation. That's stupidity." Another pause. Longer this time. "You have spirit," Victor said. "I like that. It makes breaking you more satisfying." "You don't get to break anyone," Isla said, meeting Dominic's gaze across the room. "You get to choose. Walk away from Chicago permanently, or watch everything you've built disappear tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. when my forensic accountant finishes transferring your remaining shell companies to the feds." She hung up. The room erupted in chaos. Carter barked orders. Marco was moved to a safe location within the estate, a panic room with independent communications. Security tripled. The Northern Docks were evacuated and rigged with explosives. Every Volkov asset in Chicago was identified and tagged. Dominic watched it all from the window. When the room cleared, he turned to Isla. "What did you just do?" His voice was low. "Dangerous. I bought us time." Isla walked to the medical supply cabinet she'd requested be installed in the war room. She pulled out a syringe, a vial of sedative, and a bandage. "They think I'm a nurse they can scare. They don't know I'm the one who knows your medical history better than you do. They don't know I can kill you with a single injection if I choose." Dominic's eyes narrowed. "You would threaten me?" "I would protect you from yourself." She stepped closer, holding the syringe up. "You're thinking of going out there, of trading yourself for me, of sacrificing the territory to save me. That's the old you. The you who thinks love is a liability. I won't let you. You already did." Isla's voice softened. "When you signed that contract, you gave me permission to protect you back. That's what this is." She placed the syringe on the table. "We don't trade. We don't hide. We hit them so hard they never think about Marco or me again." Dominic stared at her for a long moment. Then he reached out, his large hand covering hers on the syringe. Not to take it, to hold it. "You know what I am," he said quietly. "What I'm capable of. I know what you were." Isla turned her hand, lacing her fingers with his. "I'm asking you to be something else with me." The Volkov attack came at midnight. They didn't come through the gates. They came through the old sewer tunnels beneath the estate tunnels Dominic thought were sealed after the 2018 renovation. They came with military-grade gear and a single objective: extract Isla Monroe alive. Isla was in the medical bay reviewing Marco's latest dental x-rays when the first alarm blared. Not the perimeter alarm. The internal breach alert. Carter burst in. They're in the east wing, moving toward the guest suites. "We're evacuating Marco to the panic room now." "Where's Dominic?" Isla asked, already grabbing her medical bag not for bandages, but for the small, specialized items she'd requested. Surgical glue, hemostatic agents, a scalpel with a diamond-coated edge. "He's coordinating the defense from the command center." "Take me there." "Miss Monroe, you need to take me there." Now Carter didn't argue. He knew. They all knew. Isla wasn't the woman who needed protecting anymore. She was the one who'd predicted this exact breach vector 3 hours earlier when she noticed dust patterns in the old service tunnels. The command center was chaos. Dominic stood at the central console, barking orders. On the monitors, heat signatures moved through the estate's eastern corridors. "They know Marco's location," Dominic said without looking up. "They're herding us toward the panic room. It's a trap. Not if we're already gone." Isla stepped to the tactical map. "They're using thermal scopes. They see heat signatures. What if they see 2 in the panic room when only 1 should be there?" Dominic finally looked at her. "What are you suggesting?" "I'll go to the panic room. Alone, Marco stays with you." Isla pulled a small device from her medical bag, a portable hyperthermic blanket she'd modified. "This will create a second heat signature. They'll think Marco is there. While they're breaching the panic room, we hit them from the rear." "You're not bait," Dominic growled. "I'm not bait. I'm the hunter." Isla met his gaze. "They want me alive. That means they won't shoot first. That gives us the element of surprise. And I know exactly where to place this to make the thermal signature indistinguishable from a 12-year-old boy's." Dominic's jaw worked. The old him would have said no, would have locked her in the panic room himself. But this was the new equation. The one where she wasn't a liability but a tactical asset. "5 minutes," he said finally. "Then I'm coming in guns blazing." "Make it 3, Isla replied. "And bring the sedative dart gun. I want Victor alive." The panic room was a fortress within a fortress. Isla entered alone, the heavy door sealing behind her with a final thud. She placed the hyperthermic blanket on the cot, adjusted it to Marco's exact body mass and temperature profile, then activated it. On the monitors, she watched the Volkov tactical team approach 4 men in black tactical gear, moving with professional precision. They reached the door, used a thermal scanner, nodded, breach charge applied. The door exploded inward. Isla stood in the center of the room, back straight, hands visible. The team leader, a bear of a man with a scarred face, stepped in first, rifle aimed at her chest. "Isla Monroe?" "That's me." She didn't raise her hands. "Victor wants me alive. I assume that means you can't shoot me." The man grinned. "Doesn't mean we can't rough you up." He stepped forward. Isla didn't flinch. She simply watched him, her eyes tracking his weapon hand. When he was within arm's reach, she moved. Not with combat training, she had none, but with medical precision. She sidestepped, her left hand shooting out to grab his wrist, her right thumb jamming into the radial nerve, with the exact pressure needed to make fingers go numb. The rifle clattered to the floor as the man cried out in surprise. Before the second enforcer could react, Isla had already kicked the first man's knees inward, dropping him. She scooped up the rifle, pointed it at the second man's chest, and pulled the trigger. A dart embedded in his neck. Sedative, non-lethal. He crumpled. The third man fired. Isla dove behind the cot, the bullet striking the metal frame where she'd been standing. She returned fire, not to kill, but to disable another dart, this one hitting the man's shoulder. He went down, clawing at the dart. The fourth man, the one who'd been covering the door, raised his rifle and fired. Isla felt the impact like a hammer blow to her left shoulder. Not a dart, a real round. She fell, the rifle slipping from her hands. The man advanced, rifle pointed at her face. "You should have stayed a nurse," he sneered. Before he could pull the trigger, the door behind him exploded inward. Dominic stood in the smoke, a combat shotgun in his hands, his face a mask of cold, lethal fury. He didn't shoot the enforcer. He simply said, "Marco is in the main house. You're pointing a gun at my wife." The enforcer's eyes widened. He turned. Dominic pulled the trigger. The blast hit the man's center mass, throwing him backward into the wall. Dominic crossed to Isla, dropping the shotgun and kneeling beside her. His hands were gentle as he pressed them to her shoulder, checking the wound. "Through and through," he said, his voice tight. "Bullet exited. Clean path." "Good," Isla gasped, pain radiating. "Because I want to be awake when we end this." Viktor Volkov sat in a reinforced concrete cell beneath the estate, stripped of his tailored suit, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his hands zip-tied to a metal chair. He looked calm, smug. "You should have taken the deal," he said in accented English when Isla walked in, supported by Dominic's arm. "Now, you lose everything." "I already have everything," Isla said, leaning against the table. Her shoulder bandaged but pain radiating through her. "You just don't understand what that means." Victor laughed. "The nurse who thinks she's a queen. Dominic's little pet. How much did he pay you to play this role? Another 50,000? 100? Isla didn't answer. She simply placed a tablet on the table. On the screen, live feeds from Volkov's offshore accounts, being systematically drained by her forensic accountant. Real estate holdings in Detroit, Moscow, London, all being seized by federal agencies based on anonymous tips. His shipping routes hijacked by rival families who'd been waiting for this moment. Victor's smile faded. "You can't do this," he said. "I already did." Isla leaned forward. "You threatened my brother. You attacked my home. You shot me." She gestured to her shoulder. "But here's what you don't understand. I'm not Dominic's weakness. I'm his advantage. And you just gave me the legal justification to erase you completely." Dominic stood behind her, a silent, terrifying presence. But he didn't speak. He let her do this. Victor's eyes darted between them. "He'll never let you make these decisions. You're just his what?" Isla cut him off. "His nurse? His employee? His liability?" She stood straighter, ignoring the pain. "I'm his partner. And you made the mistake of thinking love makes a man weak. It doesn't. It makes him unstoppable." She turned to Dominic. "The accounts are frozen. The properties are seized. The feds have everything. He'll spend the rest of his life in a supermax." Dominic nodded. "Good," Isla looked back at Victor. "One more thing. You'll never see the sun again. But every year on this date, you'll get a package. Inside will be a single photo of Marco. Happy, safe, living the life you tried to take from him. And you'll know you lost." Victor lunged against his restraints, screaming curses in Russian. Isla turned and walked out, Dominic's hands steady on her lower back. They stood on the terrace that night, the city spread out below them, lights glittering like fallen stars. Marco was inside, asleep in his new room, safe. Dominic's arm wrapped around Isla's waist, pulling her against his side. His chin rested on top of her head. "You should have let me kill him," he said quietly. "And then what? His son takes over? Another war? Another generation of blood?" Isla leaned back into him. "No, we end it. Not with bullets, with consequences that last forever." He was silent for a long moment. "Then, when you walked into that cell, I've never been so afraid in my life. Because you thought I'd get hurt. Because I thought I'd lose you before I even had you." His arms tightened. "The contract. The 6 weeks. It's over." I don't want you as my nurse. I don't want you as my employee. I want you as my wife. Real marriage. No escape clauses. No end dates. Isla turned in his arms, looking up at him. The moonlight caught the scars on his face, the lines around his eyes, lines that had been there when she met him, but seemed softer now. You're asking me to marry a mafia boss. I'm asking you to marry the man who can't sleep without you beside him. The man who built an empire but had nothing to live for until you walked into room 304. Dominic's voice was rough. Say yes, or say no. But say it knowing that if you walk away, I'll spend every day for the rest of my life trying to deserve you back. Isla smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. I already said yes. When I signed that contract. I just didn't realize what I was agreeing to. He kissed her then, not the desperate, hungry kiss of the hospital room, but slow, deep, and full of promise. A kiss that tasted of survival, and something even sweeter. When they parted, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. The Volkovs are gone. The docks are secure. The city knows what happens when you threaten what's mine. And what happens now? Isla asked. Now? Dominic smiled, a real smile that transformed his face. Now we go upstairs. And I finally get to sleep through the night with my wife beside me. Isla laughed, the sound light and free. Lead the way, Mr. Ashford. Dominic, he corrected. Just Dominic. And as they walked hand in hand into the house, the city below them glittering under a clear night sky, Isla knew this wasn't an ending. It was the first night of the rest of their lives. Some people spend their whole lives running from the darkness. Isla Monroe learned that sometimes the strongest light comes from the man who spent his whole life in shadows, and the woman brave enough to stand beside him and refuse to be afraid. If you loved watching Isla transform from a desperate nurse into the queen who tamed the Phantom King, hit that subscribe button now, and don't miss a single story where the underestimated woman doesn't just survive the mafia world, she owns it. And if you want to know what happens when Dominic's past comes back to haunt them both in the most personal way possible, click the video on your screen, because the next threat doesn't come from a rival syndicate. It comes from inside the family he trusted most.